up on KUJH, we take a look at how the weather affects your local pumpkin patches this season.
And 'tis the season for some delicious apple dumplings.
Still to come as we learn about an artist who displays his work at bus stops around Lawrence.
Live from the studio in Stauffer Flint at the University of Kansas, you're watching KUJH News.
Welcome to KUJH. I'm Claire Decatur.
And I'm Libby Johnson.
Well, it's officially fall time, and that means it's time for pumpkin season.
However, pumpkin picking might be slimmer this year. Dylan Vanderveen is live from the pumpkin patch to tell us more. Dylan, take it away.
Yeah, thanks guys. Everybody knows about the great traditions with these guys right here, including delicious pies and jack-o'-lanterns. But several orchards and pumpkin patches have told me that they're struggling with their pumpkin patch supply. They lost a lot of pumpkins due to the August heat wave. A lot of people remember that the heat got over 100 degrees for over a week back in August, and it left the plants extremely dehydrated.
Almost all plants need at least an inch of water a week on average, and pumpkins could probably use a little bit more than that.
Other fruits such as apples and plants like soybeans have also taken a hit due to the same heat wave. But almost every single place I've talked to and every single pumpkin patch I've talked to, still they say they have good supply, but people are just gonna have to go maybe to the patches a little bit earlier than expected. From Yushki Farms, I'm Dylan Vanderveen, KUJH News.
Hey, thanks Dylan. I'm so excited that it's finally the fall season. Sounds like I'll have to rush the pumpkin patch before the pumpkins run out.
Yeah, I hope now the heat lets up now that it's officially fall. What's the weather look like this week, Ashton?
Good morning, KU. Right now we have our current temperatures behind me. We are sitting in those mid-70s for most locations. Here in Lawrence, feeling like 78. Down in Wichita, a little bit warmer at 83 currently. So we are feeling the heat today. The good news though is that our dew points are staying low, allowing the humidity to also remain low for today. Today's Lawrence dew point is at 62 currently, and as the day goes on, we have this light wind that's going to come with us at just 8 miles per hour right now. Coming out of the south are winds from Ottawa at 6 miles per hour, so the winds are going to continue to stay pretty light as our temperatures climb into the 90s for today, 92 degrees. It's going to be trending well above average for this time of year. We'll talk more about that coming up though.
This week, we reached out to KU police following up a vandalism investigation.
There are still no leads on who graffitied an anti-Semitic symbol on campus. Less than a month ago, a student saw a swastika spray painted on the sidewalk near 19th and Naismith. The student reported the vandalism to his fraternity president, who then told KU Hillel. The university was informed along with other Jewish organizations. The report was filed through the Office of Civil Rights in Title IX. KU Police Chief James Druin says KU facilities cleaned up the graffiti before officers arrived.
While we might not know who did it, it's really important to know that everyone knows that it happened so that we can monitor for trends, make sure we respond similarly in the future, and try to prevent anything larger from happening in the future.
KU Hillel and KU Chabad posted on social media offering support to students and expressing unity across Lawrence Jewish communities.
If you have seen or experienced racial or ethnic harassment, you can report the incident by visiting civilrights.ku.edu.
If you have been driving around the Lawrence area, you might have noticed some new art. Abby Lord has more.
Along the streets of Lawrence, new art installations on bus shelters have been revealed as residents have spotted them on their drive home. Take a look.
Throughout the city of Lawrence, 6 local indigenous artists created 10 pieces on bus shelters. For Takea Wachi'u Richardson, who created Let's Ride at bus stop 213 on Iowa and Harvard, his art gives his people a voice and empowers kids to be proud of their culture.
It's a statement saying that, you know, we're here and we're proud. We're not, we're still thriving, and that we're very much modern. And to have that up is empowerment to the future generations to be able to look upon this and see like, oh yeah, that's me. That's my culture being represented.
The Lawrence Transit worked with the Indigenous Community Center on the project for this round of bus stops. Felice Leverdney, who leads the project, says,
at Lawrence Transit, want to say and recognize that the Indigenous community has been under-recognized and underrepresented just in public life, and we wanted to make sure to highlight the Indigenous community.
Richardson's art comes from old teachings and childhood stories from his elders. His art is meant to be healing and powerful for anyone, especially Native Americans.
So what I wanted to do was create, a space for my people and to show off, how cool my people are.
Next time you see art on a bus shelter, take a second and look, because it's one of a kind. For KUJH News, I'm Abby Lord.
If you want to learn more about the artists, the inspiration, and the new projects, go to lawrencetransit.com.
Coming up on KUJH, find out how tobacco companies and junk food sales are connected.
Learn how we're affected by KU's Family Weekend. Stay with us.
Welcome back to KUJH.
A KU professor's latest research looks to explain some of the forces that shape the U.S. food industry. KUJH's Blake Ullman is here in the studio to tell us more.
In the 1980s, two of the biggest tobacco companies in the U.S. at the time heavily invested in the food industry. Now, a new KU study shows food companies backed by tobacco money led the industry in promoting junk food to American consumers.
There's a precedent with what the tobacco companies did with cigarettes. They made them addictive when it came out, that they made them addictive and made them highly appealing, and they caused lung cancer. They incurred federal regulation as a result. So there's already a precedent set up for what we can do with these types of food.
At the time, foods manufactured by these companies were 80% more likely to be classified as hyperpalatable because of the product's uses of sodium and carbs.
So that means that we're presented with this highly rewarding eating experience. They can lead to us kind of consuming more calories than we mean to or intend to in an eating occasion. Over time, that can increase our risk for weight gain and obesity.
Even though tobacco companies divested from the food industry in the early 2000s, Vizino estimates about 68% of foods sold today are hyperpalatable. For KUJH News, I'm Blake Ullman.
For more information, the study was published earlier this month in the academic journal called Addiction.
Lawrence was busier this weekend while KU hosted its university-wide Family Weekend. From Greek life students to having events with their chapter to KU schools hosting open houses, the campus was full of activities to do with your families. Students' families planned months in advance to get reservations and tickets to the sold-out game against BYU. Owner of Uplift Coffee, Trey Husling, said the energy was booming and a lot of people were coming around to have a good time.
We're probably like 10 to 15% more than like the last couple games, but hopefully more as the game goes on.
Well, we have some close family friends that already had a daughter and another daughter going to school here, so they kind of clued us in that we needed to book in like 4 to 6 months early. So we got on that program.
Although I'm grateful campus is a lot less busy, it's always fun to see families on campus.
I mean, yeah, the weather was definitely different on Family Weekend. I woke up and thought we definitely wouldn't have a game, but I was grateful it got a lot nicer.
Yeah, I'm really glad it cleared up. It was great to see that everyone had a good time at the game. For Ashton, how is the weather currently looking outside?
Welcome back, KU. We are going to be talking about those summer-like temperatures in the 90s, and then coming up in the forecast, we are going to break down that game day planner for you. Right now, though, we are taking a look at live from Lawrence outside. Lots of clear skies over the football field right now, and that's going to be the trend for most of the week with lots of continuous clear skies and sunshine. This is our radar from this morning. You can see as the sun was rising, putting a lot of clear skies over to the west of us. Some cloud coverage out to the east, but for us, we are staying clear today and tomorrow. This is our temperatures right now in the 70s for us. Warmer down south over in Ottawa, feeling like 80 already. So our temperatures are going to continue to climb today, getting into the 90s for today. One good thing to keep in mind, though, is that allergies are on the high. We have ragweed and pollen and mold at mild for today, but as the week goes on, we are going to climb into the high for that. So if you have allergies, it may be a good idea to start taking that allergy pill. Back to you guys.
The opportunity to help save one of nature's most important pollinators drew a crowd to this year's open house event to watch the monarch event.
KUJH reporter Stella Uriarty tells us more about monarchs and the important role they play in our environment.
The Monarch Watch is a program based at the University of Kansas that is focused on research, education, and conservation outreach.
At the Fall Open House, we are promoting all of that to the local population. It's a chance for the local people to see what we do and to promote awareness for the plight of the monarch butterfly and other pollinators.
The role of a pollinator is to help flowers and plants reproduce, so when insects collect pollen on their legs, they are aiding in that reproduction.
Then there's also activities that are fun but teach at the same time. Kids can take home a seed ball, and the really fun thing about the fall event is that we send everybody home, or at least every kid, with a chrysalis, and they can take it home and wait for the butterfly to emerge and then release it.
When planted, these seed balls grow into milkweed, which is important because monarch caterpillars only eat milkweed. No milkweed, no monarchs. I also got the chance to talk to one of this year's volunteers to see why he's chosen to be a part of this event for the past 14 years.
My favorite part is being here at these events, right, and just talking to people. It's always great to see little kids, adults, older people. It's great to see such a diverse community come together who are all excited to learn about monarchs.
To learn more about monarchs, their role in the environment, or different events held by the Monarch Watch, make sure to check out their website, monarchwatch.org. Stella for KUJH.
Thank you, Stella, for that in-depth look in our campus on our own monarch butterfly watch. With this monarchs flying around, that garden is sure to offer some beautiful sights.
A beautiful sight to all who visited. It was also great to see the Lawrence community come out together to support this great event. Coming up after this break, we'll have Jackson Reed with sports.
Welcome back to KUJH Sports. I'm Jackson Reed. It's been a big week for Jayhawk sports, so let's get things started. The KU football team hosted BYU this past weekend, and safe to say the Jayhawks did not disappoint. The team started out with a monster hit by Kobe Bryant that popped the ball free and allowed Bryant to scoop and score for the Hawks' first defensive touchdown of the season. After that, Jalen Daniels tossed touchdowns to Luke Grimm and Trevor Cardell, and meanwhile, the Kansas defense stunned BYU with another defensive touchdown, this time to start the second half off by a pick six from team captain Kenny Logan. The defense also allowed the fewest amount of rushing yards in a game in almost 15 years. The Jayhawks took the win 38-27. They moved to 4-0 for the second straight season, and they have found themselves in the top 25 for the first time this season. As for another Jayhawk team, Kansas volleyball is ranked 19th in the nation after splitting 2 games with Texas Tech in Lubbock this past weekend. The Jayhawks are back at home this weekend, taking on the 20th ranked Houston Cougars. KUJH reporter Shamaria Massenberg is on the scene before a big ranked matchup this weekend. Shamaria, how's it going?
Thanks, Jackson. I am standing outside of KUJH Family Volleyball Arena, which is where Jayhawk fans will be tomorrow night ahead of KU Volleyball's top 20 matchup against the Houston Cougars. The Jayhawks and the Cougars are ranked right next to each other at 19th and 20th in the nation, so we're expecting a close matchup. The Jayhawks are coming off of a split game against Texas Tech this past weekend, which led to freshman Reagan Burns being named Rookie of the Week after scoring a career high of 28 digs in their first match against the Red Raiders. The Jayhawks look to keep this momentum going into tomorrow, and Houston will take on their second consecutive match against a top-ranked team after losing to 10th-ranked BYU on Wednesday. Jackson, back to you.
Thanks, Shamaria. Those should be 2 great matchups inside KUJH Family Volleyball Arena. But as for the high school level, the Lawrence Free State Firebirds are 4-0 to start this young season. Anchored by a stingy defense, the Firebirds are taking their undefeated record on the road tomorrow to play Shawnee Mission North. But back to the college level, as for tonight, the Kansas soccer team is hosting the Baylor Bears in their Big 12 opener tonight, Big 12 home opener tonight at Rock Chalk Park. Ashton, how's the weather look for tonight's match?
We are back with our afternoon planner for today. We are going to be in the 90s today. It will be hot. If you have later afternoon classes, just be mindful by 2 p.m. we are already at the upper 80s, and then by 4 p.m. we are there at 92 degrees. So it is not feeling like September at all, more like July with these high temperatures that are feeling very warm. And if you are heading out to the soccer game tonight, they play tonight at 7 p.m. We are still sitting in those mid 80s by 7 p.m. and then by 10 p.m. sitting there at those lower 70s. So as the evening goes on, we are going to drop into those 60s. So if you do do go out to the game tonight, just be mindful that it is going to be a warm September evening for you.
Welcome back to KUJH.
So, who doesn't love puppies? The Crawford Community Center held a puppy therapy event called Pause for Pups earlier this week.
Our own Carson Shea went to join others in relieving stress and got the chance to speak with some students at the event.
Today I'm at the Crawford Community Center to check out Pause for Pups, which is a puppy therapy event set up by the Health Education Resource Office. Let's check it out.
So Pause for Pups is just an event that the Health Education Resource puts on. Anyone's welcome to come. They bring therapy dogs from Loving Paws in Lawrence, which is an animal shelter. And so volunteers from that animal shelter bring dogs, and there's typically 3 to 4 dogs in groups, and so people just kind of go around and pet the dogs.
The event was a hit amongst KU students, as over 100 came by throughout the evening.
I just think it's a great event to just relieve some stress, get to pet some cute pups, and just take a break from studying and doing homework and all that.
Pause for Pups is much more than just puppy therapy. Bailey Mowry is a KU student that works for CAPS, and she filled me in on how they are involved at the event.
Well, this is a collaboration with CAPS and Pause for Pups. So I'm with CAPS, and my partner and I are an extension of CAPS, and we are Hope at CAPS. So we are the mental health peer listeners on campus, and we provide mental health resources, which is CAPS, and all of our other services here on campus.
Pause for Pups will return at various other locations later in the semester, so if you missed out on this one, be sure to check it out in the coming months. Those puppies sure were cute. For KUJH News, I'm Carson Shea.
Thanks, Carson. Looked like a great event, and it seemed that students were able to benefit. Nothing signals the start of fall in Eudora quite like the making of apple dumplings.
If you haven't heard of such things as apple dumplings, KUJH reporter Jack Denenbeim, can you tell us more?
This past Sunday, I was able to visit Eudora Methodist Church and learn about their apple dumpling season. When the apple peelers, rolling pins, bowls of dough, and cinnamon sugar are out at the Eudora Methodist Church, it can only mean one thing. It's time for apple dumplings. Members of the church carried on the fall tradition of making apple dumplings when they made nearly 900 treats of Apple Delight Sunday.
Not very many people make apple dumplings. I don't know, some people, I didn't know what they were until we started making them here. But to me, it's like an apple pie all wrapped up, and it's just really delicious.
Church member Marcia Bagby says the tradition started about 25 years ago and has grown from when they started by making only about 150 dumplings. But Bagby says even though the creation is hard work, it's always a fun time for everyone involved.
It's a little bit stressful at times, but then once we get to the day of making them, it's just a fun fellowship time for the church members. We have stuff that the youngest kids can do up to, people, elderly folks can participate too. So there's just a lot of different levels of tasks to do, and so everyone can get involved.
For the kids involved, there is nothing better than the final product.
I like it because it's tasty and the buttermilk's over it and it's just good.
Members of the church will sell apple dumplings at Eudora Fest on Saturday, October 7th. I'm Jack Denenbeim reporting for KUJH News.
Not only will the church sell apple dumplings, but if you go to a Eudora Fest, members of the church will sell noodles and chicken for lunch.
First, I could not stop thinking about pumpkin spice lattes. Now I won't be able to stop thinking about these apple dumplings.
I'm eager for the fall festivities to start and the weather to change, but however, the fall outside still feels like summer. Ashton, is there any chance some fall weather is coming up this weekend?
We have a look at our drought monitor currently for the state of Kansas. You may be looking at this thinking we are seeing a lot of red. Many locations are still seeing a severe drought, but if we just look at the drought that it was 6 months ago, you can see that southwest side of Kansas really cleared up. There is exponential drought there, but now we have definitely cleared up in the last 6 months with our drought. But looking at our future forecast, you can see that we are staying clear for the next multiple days in a row, bringing lots of sunshine with us here in the state of Kansas, not tracking any type of precipitation coming up. Our temperature for yesterday got up to 85 degrees. Our high for this time of year is typically between 75 and 80 degrees, so we were well above the high yesterday. But today we are getting even higher, jumping into those 90s with our Climate Prediction Center giving us a well above average trend for the next 6 to 10 days in our forecast. This is a glance at those trends for the next multiple days. This is our average line trending in those lower 80s, upper 70s, but we are about 10 to 15 degrees above that in the 90s for the next multiple days for the week, finally cooling off by Wednesday next week. This is a glance at that 7-day forecast for you, though. You can see temperatures are in the 90s for multiple days. Be aware of the heat if you are out, because it is not quite sweater weather quite yet with these temperatures. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ashton. That's all for now. Thank you for watching KUJH. Be sure to tune in next week for more local news, sports, and weather.
And for more coverage, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and visit our website at tv.ku.edu.